In this video, we're going to look at the ENTTEC Datagate Family module. This module is used for triggering different profiles on the ENTTEC Datagate Mk2 DMX node, Storm24 DMX node, and Pixelator pixel tape controller. This module uses HTTP and works with revisions A, B, and C of all Datagate Family products. This module is great when building interfaces or automated processes that change the ArtNet or streaming ACN configuration of your lighting system between control sources, triggering backup lighting states, and more. For example, you can pair this module with a Ctrl Suite interface to switch control of multi-universe lighting rigs between different lighting consoles quickly and easily at festivals, or easily recall a known lighting state using multiple Datagate Mk2s or Storm24s within a venue. With the Pixelator, you can do the same thing, but given you're controlling pixels, you can recall different mapping and grouping options too. In one profile, you can have your in-house control system control everything on a per pixel level using a pixel mapper. Then in another profile, switch the pixel map to being easily controlled in larger RGB blocks, so a touring lighting designer can come in quickly and incorporate this into their touring rig. To use this module, you'll need at least one entity licensed on your control engine. To create interfaces to interact with this module, you'll need at least one player license. In this example, I'm running Control Engine and Control Designer on the same computer, and I've got a Datagate Mk2 on my local network with IP address 10.0.0.20, and Pixelator with IP address 10.0.0.10. Firstly, we'll make sure we can communicate with the Datagate Mk2 and Pixelator's localhost web pages by navigating to them in a web browser. In Control Designer, we'll navigate to the workspace settings, then select the HTTP patch and create two new patches referencing these IP addresses, then name them appropriately before saving. We use a patch system within Ctrl Suite to save time if the IP address of the devices we're controlling are modified. Modifying the patch updates everything that it references, instead of having to update each of these commands individually. After this, we'll navigate to the new node option and create a module. We'll give it a name and description, give it a color theme to make it easily recognizable in the UI, then next we'll define the module type. Here, it's the ENTTEC Datagate Family. Next, we'll configure the module settings. We'll reference the HTTP patch we've made so we're communicating with the correct device. We've got the option to request updates from the Datagate Family device that we'll get into in processes shortly. Transitioning back to the node view, here you can see I've created two modules, one for the Pixelator and one for the Datagate Mk2. To explore what we can use these modules for in Control Suite, I'll create a visual process. Inside this visual process, I'll drag in our Datagate Mk2 module block we've just created. And as we can see, under the options, we can select Profile Did Change. This acts as a monitor and sends a trigger to start a process within Control Suite if a user changes the profile on the Datagate Family device it's monitoring. For example, if you've got a fixed installation, you could set it back to the same profile if a user starts tinkering with the buttons on the front of the unit and changes it, or use it as a reference point to trigger other parts of your installation when someone changes the profile. Next, we've got the Get Active Profile option. This returns the number of the active profile on the Datagate Family device each time the block is triggered, by writing this value to a variable and pairing it with a render component block within the Control Suite process. You could show the active profile number or name within the Control Suite user interface. If the block can't connect to the device, it'll send an error out of the error outlet. This can be used to trigger another process to retry the same thing again, or send an alert to an end user. The Set Active Profile option allows the profile on the device to be remotely set by Control Suite. Once the block is triggered, a command is sent to the Datagate Family device, and then the triggered outlet is set to high to be used to fire more devices in your process. Once again, the errors output can be used to send warnings out of the system if the block can't connect or doesn't get a response. It's worth noting that multiple variations of the same module can be used at the same time within a process, or across multiple processes. Here, I'll use a process start block to trigger Profile 2 on the Datagate Mk2 and Profile 3 on the Pixelator. This will ensure that these specific profiles are triggered when the system is first powered on. We could use any mixture of Control Suite's math, timer logic, or triggers to fire commands. It's not just limited to process start and event blocks. I'll sync this workspace with Control Engine, then simulate this being triggered. We can see that in the real world, this is happening on the front of the device. In addition to processes, this module can be used in action timelines to trigger Datagate Family devices, alongside sending other commands. For example, an action could trigger Datagate Family devices, then trigger a scene on a pixel mapping software to fade in 3 seconds later. Finally, this module or multiple modules can be assigned to a button in an interface to trigger a profile when the button's pressed. Here I've created 3 buttons in a toggle group, each triggering a different set of Datagate Family profiles. When we sync it to Control Engine and display the interface on a Control Player instance, we can interact with the Datagate Family devices anywhere on the network to trigger these profiles. Perfect for venue automation systems or festivals requiring quick changeovers between tour and lighting guests. We hope you found this introduction useful. To request any more modules for the system, get in touch.